Good evening, class, and welcome back from spring break. It's a pleasure to record some content for you guys to see again. I am actually right now in the content page of our Blackboard page, and I'm taking a look because I saw that not many people submitted anything for their essay 2. Essay 2 was part of your schedule, and I supplied you with some support on how to write an essay, right? How to write a classification and division essay. So the first thing I'm going to call your attention to is this quick handout about a classification essay. And it explains to you that when you, why do you write, first of all, a classification and division essay? So not only for my class or English department classes, but in general for college, you will come across some complex issues that can't be simply defined and explained to people with just a definition, right? So when you come across those issues, sometimes the problems are complex, right? And you're going to talk about something that happens in complex ways. So the classification and division essay will help you establish what that problem is, right? So you would, this is when you take a bigger problem and you break it down into its components. And that's what you're going to have to do in your essay 2. I want you to take a look at this handout. I also want you to take a look at the classification and division worksheets, right? This is the first one, and it gives you an example of classification, right? And it asks you to do the basics of an essay, right? Which is to identify the thesis statement, how did they introduce, but more importantly, is there an organizing principle? How did the author of this essay here choose to organize the essay? What is the organizing principle? How did they classify? How did they divide, right? You will see something similar with the classification and division worksheet 2, right? And it gives you a stepwise procedure for you to check that you did do that you did follow these basic principles of it. What I am going to do is to post up for you to see a brief, very brief PowerPoint based on these strategies, right? So classification and division, right? When you write a classification essay, you are breaking stuff down into smaller units so that your readers can understand what that concept is, right? Obviously, if you are putting these members, right, of a group into a class, these members would have to share similarities, right? When you classify, you need to define what makes those classes, right? What is the principle that created those classes? So if you had to divide the category cell phones into sizes, right? For example, what is the principle here? The principle is sizes. So small size cell phones, average sized ones, and large sized ones. Another point to keep in mind is that you should not mix principles, right? So when your principles overlap, it becomes confusing to the reader, right? Here's my example. If you were characterizing cell phones by size, you should not include sizes, classes that would not touch on size, for example, price or appearance, right? Stay within the categories that you are classifying, right? Here's what I ask you to do. And if you have any questions, if it's not obvious to you, then message me or go ahead and use the discussion boards, right? Chat with your classmates and ask which is out of place here. So if I was categorizing, my principal was autos, right? So I have SUV, pickup, and economy. For transport, I have land, train, air, and water. Rivers, dangerous, short, wide. Drugs, there are uppers, there are illegal, and there are downers. So as you will notice, all of these are examples, right? But one of them is out of place because it's not within the categorizing principle that I picked, right? All right, so two of the most common types of classification are you can classify by degree, from lower to higher, or by chronology in time periods, right? There are considerations that go along with this, right? In my example, C grades are good, B grades are better, and A grades are the best. So obviously I'm evaluating here, right? And it's something that you do when you think of degrees, right? Another way to classify on the basis of degree would be size, for example, right? Small, medium, and large. An example of how to classify cell phones based on degree would be good, better, or best, right? And I hope you guys agree with that because that's from a very old time when cell phones first came out. But if you don't understand that, just trust me on the brands there. I don't think those are in the market anymore. The Motorola's, the Sony's, and the Nokia's. Okay. Another example of how to classify cell phones based on degree. Cheap, affordable, expensive. Time periods. Those are pretty obvious. Now, when you're classifying, do not leave anyone or anything out. Look for obvious missing elements, right? So for example, if you chose to classify a theme, right, in Manhattan Beach, right, and you believe that this theme pervades through all characters, all the more important characters in a specific chapter, for example, do not leave out any one of those characters, okay? I want you to keep going through this. I'm not going to go through all of it, but because of time, my goal here is that you notice, that you realize that you haven't yet submitted, but you have been very supported in the endeavor of writing this classification and division essay. If anybody is not sure what I am talking about, you have had an assignment according to the schedule of activities, which included Essay 2. For Essay 2, there is a prompt, but in short, you need to write an essay about a concept in the novel that we are reading that particularly interests you. You want to explain to your readers by breaking that issue down into components, right? If you click here, you will get a more detailed explanation of the prompt and of the requirements. I think this settles it. I had set out to make a 5-minute video. I will leave you with a note that I have updated the course schedule of activities, which you can find under course information, and you will see that it's been updated, right? And the major difference in it is that from now on, everybody will have to participate more actively in the discussions. And everyone will get a chance to be a discussion leader at some point. So be on the lookout for your name and on emails that I have sent you, for example, for this week, for the discussion leaders. Without further ado, I welcome you guys back from spring break. And I remind you that essay 2 is already due, and that you need to keep posting, right, comments, questions to your classmates and emailing me with further questions. Thank you very much.